Oh, we are starting the week, John. Really, we're not starting the week. We're starting the season today. We are starting the season today. Here we go.
Very on brand that we're recording this on a Sunday, right?
So on brand that we're starting it on a Sunday. I mean, think about the NFL season, I guess, doesn't actually start on a Sunday. It starts on a Thursday. But
True.
Sunday is it's the day of days every week, I would say, for this podcast. It's the big day, just like the NFL. They play games on other days, but one day bigger than the others. And then also it's a countdown for us because it's a week from today. If you're listening to this Sunday, if you're watching the YouTube, if you happen to catch the podcast goes out Sunday night, if you happen to catch it before Monday, it's a week away from next Sunday, August 1st. And on August 1st, we have an announcement for the podcast, which is we're really, really, really fired up about.
One of my, I'm just to speak for myself. I don't know. You've done different things. Proudest professional accomplishment ever. Definitely including this venture. I think it's definitely the most unique professional accomplishment we've had. And from a business standpoint, it's by far the coolest. And we have some great partners, and we'll be announcing some other, I guess they won't be quote unquote announcements. It'll just be things that just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a big freaking deal.
We are. I mean, when you think about it, we're coming up on 2016 is when we left terrestrial radio, or it left us. September of 2016. We were talking about this the other day, so we don't need to rehash too much. But so we're coming up.
What left me? You chose to leave.
The impetus why you left. I could argue it left us long before we stopped doing a radio show. But we're coming up on 5 years.
We were both aligned. We just had different avenues. I didn't have a choice. You had a choice, even though you were with me on the avenue.
Yeah, and I would argue I didn't really have that much. I mean, I might have, there was no decision to be made. But, and we got lucky. I know early on in the podcast, people would ask, how do you start a podcast? And I'd always say, well, you start at least 5 years ago, for us, one thing that helped us, we had a radio show, right? So we had a built-in audience, but we had a business meeting on Friday, after this deal that we'll announce next Sunday had already been done, and that we're really excited about. And I said to the person that we were sitting with, one of my favorite things is when someone comes up, and I love people who've been with us from the jump, but I love when somebody says, "Oh, I didn't know you guys had a radio show." Like, yeah, that's fine, good. We've been at this a long time. We want this to feel fresh and new, and the content to stand on its own. And so it's grown thanks to a lot of people that listen, sharing it, and you get a few breaks and that kind of thing. But no, I don't think you speak for
the
just
Trey
yourself.
Lance trade didn't hurt.
Trey Lance trade helped. But you speak for both of us when you said what you said. I think we've been at this for a while, and what we'll share with you guys next week is we're not big celebrators, I would say, you and me.
No.
We're similar in that way.
I don't do birthdays or
Yeah, like we're just not, and sometimes that's a bad thing. I think I'm not big on like stopping and going like, let's appreciate what I did today.
We're Belichickian that way.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that over the years about myself, and sometimes it's easier to see in others than it is to see in yourself. Like I think I probably noticed that in you before I realized that about myself. But I think we're similar like that, and so it's hard for us, I think, sometimes to stop and go, okay, this is cool. But this one's easy to stop and go, this is cool, because it's really cool. And like you said, we've got some great partners, and we'll continue to. We're really fired up about I'll use a very corporate word, the alignment that we have with the company that has lined up with us starting on August 1st. So we think you guys are going to I think that's part of it is we know that you guys are going to go like that. This is sick because that's what we think. So
the onboarding of ideas has gone well. I don't even know if that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
works.
To me, the coolest part of what we do is someone who just, I've always admired people that like from the jump know what they want to do, and that's all they do the rest of their life. And I'm talking like from single digit ages. And most young kids, if they're into sports, want to be an athlete the overwhelming majority of them get derailed, right? High school, some even college. If you made it to Division I, that's an incredible accomplishment. But I worked for Howie Roseman. He wanted to be a GM at like 5 years old. I had worked with another scout that wanted to do that. Obviously, in your original profession in broadcasting and calling games, I think a decent amount of, young kids that end up making it had from a younger age that vision. And if you're, the Gary V's of the world that have been like born entrepreneurs, like that's unique. Not everyone's like that. We were kind of thrown into it, the entrepreneurial world. And it is, if you can make it and when I say make it, I don't mean make millions upon millions of dollars and be some rock star, but just survive. Everyone from the top guy, a Bezos, an Elon, to Gary V's, to just people in the middle, respect that world because of how hard it is and how much time. And I was thinking today, like if I could give advice to someone, we've worked on the weekends, right? Doing this podcast, recording on a Sunday since we've been doing this now pretty consistently for 5 years, right? I would say the Sundays we've missed over a 5-year span has been probably less than 10. And it's a huge separating factor. Like, you and I could easily be on our couch right now, fucking watching some pointless television. Maybe the Giants games in like the middle of the game, but it's like it's been an area which we've separated. And it's luckily when you're usually thrown into an entrepreneurial world, and I think the company we're going to work with aligns with us perfectly that way. You don't necessarily always look at it like that, right? It's human nature sometimes, like I don't really want to do it right now, but it's easy, right? A lot of people couldn't even fathom doing some work. Guy, it's 3:30 on a Sunday, and I'm fired up. We got a lot of stuff to record today, and it's like let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
But when you do something that you like, and I think all the successful people, right, the highest level guys always have hammered this home, and you and I have been lucky to work in sports the majority of, really our entire adult life. And it does make it easier. And I think anyone listening, if you do something that you truly enjoy doing, I don't know if it's a little the cliche, you never work a day in your life. You do feel that way. I don't care what you do, whether you're, Derek Jeter or Jeff Bezos. There are days when you feel like you're working, but it does make it a lot easier to just work on days when you don't want to. And if you're going to be a quote unquote entrepreneur, you're going to have to work a lot of days, right? And Saturday and Sunday aren't just like going to the lake, see you Monday, maybe at like 10. Yeah. It's just part of the deal. So it's exciting that just some of our hard work. And again, I don't even view it like that. I mean, we ain't fucking digging ditches.
When we say blue collar, we mean it mostly, but we kind of laugh about it too. Like there's a lot of people who are doing blue collar. We think we have a blue collar work ethic. This is not a blue collar job.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, my dad
recognize that.
I've done that. I had friends that were construction workers. Like that's hard.
Yeah.
I just white collar jobs. What we do is not difficult on our body. It can be hard to create.
Emotionally, John, it can be a drain.
Yeah, it can, especially in the summer.
Especially if you're watching a team that's got like 4 wins through 10 weeks.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. So that's coming up next Sunday. That'll be a big part of the show next Sunday, and we're excited about it. But we're here to create some content. We always appreciate when you help us by doing a couple of things. You help us create content when you give us a mailbag question, which you can do 2 ways. You can go to our iTunes page, which we really appreciate. Leave us a review and 5 stars, and leave a question in that review. And don't forget, in that review, bar you love, bar you hang out at. Or you can also go to the Facebook page.
Yep, Facebook page, Hayden Middlecoff. I just saw that they've uploaded. You can just listen to the podcast on the Facebook page. It's just its own little. Every time we load a podcast, it posts, and you just press play. It's pretty cool. I had not signed up, but I had just like added it to a couple weeks ago, and I think it's finally come through. And if you're on the page, you can just listen to it.
Have you noticed the Facebook ads that are airing? And it's like Facebook, and then it's like 12 logos. It's like, oh wait, Zuckerberg owns Instagram, Oculus, LinkedIn. I mean, I don't know that he owns all these, but it's like 6 logos.
Yeah, they've done well. They've done well.
It's like Honda, what? PG&E.
Yeah, he wouldn't buy it. It's not worth the headache.
No, it's too much actual infrastructure. Yeah. All right, so and if you're watching the YouTube podcast, is in the description. If you're listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube channel. This really is the beginning of content season, SZN, John. Like there's going to be people doing stuff on the field this week.
Thank God.
So we're going to.
I've seen some. It feels like Cowboys.
Hope you all slept. I know.
The Cowboys been practicing for like 7 days, and a lot of T-shirts and shorts just throwing the ball around, which is fine. Better than nothing.
I told you this I think I said this on the podcast the other day. The video I saw, CeeDee Lamb, no one was defending him on the particular thing I watched, but he's going 100 miles an hour. Like cuts on air. These guys are. I would hold my breath.
Breaking news: CeeDee Lamb's pretty good, right? I mean, he's looking back. I think when it's all said and done, we'll go, wait, that guy lasted till. I don't know what pick he lasted till 17 or something. Like that guy should have probably been like. I think did we overthink that one? Is he a top 6-7 player in a draft? Probably.
Yeah, but remember it was like, well, I don't know, Oklahoma. It's something that in a few years we won't say about Oklahoma receivers, right? Because they'll be if they're playing like he's playing, they're doing it in the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Hollywood Brown, our guy Keith Williams is there. I think he has his best season as a pro this year. Mark
Hollywood
Andrews.
Brown.
I mean, they have so many good skill guys. Offensively, Oklahoma's never had a problem. Adrian Peterson, right? Joe Mixon, quarterbacks. I guess wide receiver. D.D. Westbrook was good till he got hurt.
Yep.
I mean, they got dudes. They'll be fine.
D.D. going on a tour, visiting teams.
I was just the one thing I was texting with a coach who'd been there, and he thought their biggest disadvantage. Now, again, I don't think he's super locked in because I would push back. They produce a lot of offensive linemen. Like he's like the SEC, the biggest difference from that, maybe some years with the Big Ten, but the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are not the same. As you have to win in the trenches. I think it's more deep. Like Oklahoma's offensive line. I mean, they produce top flight offensive linemen they have for decades.
Yeah,
it's just defensive linemen. They're not Myles Garrett's and the Bosa's. They haven't got those guys consistently. But don't you think they will?
Yeah.
I mean, when you want to go,
it feels like their recruiting is getting better as it is in the Big 12, just because they're becoming a bigger deal, right?
It feels a little bit like Bob's Bilotti to Chip, and it's a higher level. Bob Stoops to Lincoln. It just went up a little bit, even though it was already awesome.
I mean, you think I'm just looking back at their, like, pretty regularly they have top picks, right?
Yes.
Like if you go back to
several decades. I
mean, this is top first rounders. Adrian Peterson. Next year didn't have a first rounder. The year after that, they had 4 first rounders in 2010. It's like that's one thing too. You look back, you're like Sam Bradford, Gerald McCoy, Trent Williams, Jermaine Gresham.
Pretty good group, guy.
Then they had DeMarco Murray was a third rounder in 11.
Well, see, that'd be my pushback just on the trenches. Think about this offseason. Trent Williams signs a historic deal. Orlando Brown gets traded and signs a huge deal with the Chiefs.
Lane
Those
Johnson.
Are 2 tackles.
Lane Johnson, Oklahoma.
That guy's decent. Yeah.
And the other thing is like there's a difference between first rounders and offensive linemen because you can, like 2015, they had 2 tackles drafted, one in round 4 and one in round 6. All right, now are we talking about Darrell Williams or Tyrus Thompson that much? No. But you get 2 tackles drafted in the same draft, one of them in the 4th round.
But also, if you're producing centers and guards in the middle rounds, like that's SEC.
John,
like they don't have unlimited amount of guards and centers.
They had a tackle draft in the 2nd round in 19, Cody Ford of the Bills, and then another one drafted in the 3rd round, Bobby Evans of the Rams in 19. That's
O-line has not been their problem.
Defense. Creed Humphrey, the center from the Chiefs, took him in the 2nd round last year or this year.
Yeah, so. I mean, goddamn, they are. Do not sleep on Lincoln.
No one's sleeping on him. We're not sleeping.
I know.
By the way, actually, right now, go to sleepnumber.com/ham, everybody. Get ready. Get your sleep in now at sleepnumber.com/ham. Discover proven quality sleep. Sleepnumber.com/ham.
Do you know that Sleep Number experts recommend setting the thermostat between 65 and 67 degrees for optimal sleep? I've known a lot of people, and they love sleeping in the ice cold. There's no better feeling being on the road and being in a hotel and be like, let's crank that bad boy all the way down. Slow down before bed. I'm guilty of this, though I know when I'm doing this, I should not be doing this. Yeah. Looking at the phone. Mm-hmm. I try not to look at the phone. Again, it's easy to say, harder to do and execute. I definitely dim the light on the phone at night. You know how you can kind of swipe it down and put the light down so it's not as bright in your eyes. It helps. And just try to decompress, because a better night's sleep, guy, separates from the masses. How did Haberman Middlecoff separate? We work on Sundays. How do you want to separate? Start on Monday, faster in your competition. Good night's sleep.
Yep.
A good night's sleep. You think better. Cognitive skills, boom, you're faster in the morning. That coffee hits even better. How good does a cup of coffee hit when you've had a great night's sleep?
Yeah, when you only need one. That's a good feeling.
It feels like Vin Diesel in Fast and the Furious when he hits the nos. You're like,
which one was that?
One of the 17.
It's not just the stuff you can't see. It also helps with the physical stuff that whatever you're dealing with as we age. We are, John. I think I told you this. Went to a wedding last week, and my knees were hurting from the concrete dance floor and the dress shoes for a couple of days afterwards. I'm not sure that I fully recovered. I definitely was not getting sleep that weekend. The last week, I've put an emphasis on sleep recovery in my house, and it's been big, plus anxiety relief. Sleepnumber.com/ham. Always great deals going on at sleepnumber.com/ham. You got to get your 7 to 9. I like to err on the side of 9 to 10. Sleepnumber.com/ham.
Yes, I agree.
It's here. It's here. The NFL is back, and it's not just back, John. We predict that 2021 it will be back with a vengeance, and it did well last year. It was a successful season.
I'd say
all standards.
It's had a pretty good 7-8 year stretch of just really kind of doubling down on everything, and they've benefited from the NBA has had a fall off in viewership. And again, people often think that I'm hard on. I watch, like I've consumed multiple baseball games. I watched some, not all of it, of the replay of the Team USA losing to France.
Yeah, I had it on.
Evan Fournier kicked our ass. So
you remember when we discovered Evan Fournier?
Yeah, what, the Manu Ginobili of France?
No,
was that
Manu Ginobili?
Yeah.
Ginobili. That's what the guy told us.
Listen,
we saw him in the summer league.
I'm not the problem. I'm consuming the other sports. I watch a lot of golf. I watched Djokovic win it. But the one thing that everyone watches, me and Guy, and some people listen to this that are hardcore sports fans, football has separated from the pack for countless reasons, and it's not even debatable. They're the number one sport in America right now by a wide margin. And I've been thinking, and I've had other people bring this up to me, and I think they're right, this could be the biggest football season ever. And there are several variables at part, right? They've added a game. They're added a playoff team per conference, which happened last year, and the Corona comeback. Now, some teams last year had fans, but I know teams out where we are, right? Seattle, all the California teams. I mean, at one point in time, the Niners were kicked out of the county.
And even those that had fans didn't necessarily have full capacity, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the percentage of teams just going into the season, like we have teams that have been, in our adult life, a joke, right? The Cleveland Browns, for example. The Buffalo Bills had gone up until a couple years ago when Andy Dalton threw that touchdown against the Baltimore Ravens, hadn't made the playoffs in almost 2 decades. Like they're viewed as like a powerhouse now. And I'd say every team in that division, Raider Charger fans think in playoffs, like the amount of teams that just think you have a shot at the playoffs, the storylines, it feels like going into the season, the biggest season in the NFL over the last decade, and they've had the best decade in the history of the league in terms of revenue, interest, the whole thing, right? You could argue like there have been maybe better teams at different points. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're the best players ever, even though the best player ever is playing right now. I'm just talking about fan interest, fan market share, how big everything's going to feel, and just the numbers are going to back it up. It's going to be that week one is going to feel as big as it can humanly possible feel, right?
Yeah, it's first of all, just on the return of fans, that alone, right?
Yeah.
I know AMC's obviously been in the news for a variety of reasons, the stock, but I saw a couple of weeks ago they I guess it was like the numbers they set were 16-month highs. So even pre-pandemic, right? People are just like looking for things to do. You go into the theater, anything that's outdoors. I think you said this during before baseball season. I think you said the same thing, right? Like you just think baseball is going to be cool. And having gone to a couple of baseball games, it's been cool. I don't know what their attendance numbers are relative to normal years, but I know that I know that I walked outside on a Friday, went on a big walk, finished up at De La Rosa for some pizza, and as always, sun or no sun, it is popping outside. I think the outdoor seating, at least that we have here in the Bay Area, has contributed to that, and you just feel it. You just feel it. And now we're getting into some warmer months. Obviously, we've had some warm months, but there is such an appetite for this sport, unlike any other, that I think you're right. And then I think you add to it, some of its biggest stars right now are in the news, right? Brady just won another championship. He's back again. We'll get to some drama, but Aaron Rodgers has been a story since the season ended. Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the biggest stars in the league, has been a major story. Like you said, you add a game, playoffs expanded. We'll have this whole double Manning thing on Monday Night Football. I went through.
I heard someone say on the radio, was I wrong on this? How did you interpret this? Are they doing 10 games over 3 years? Or are they doing 10 games a year for 3 years?
I interpreted it as 10 games a year. Is that incorrect?
I heard on Mike Lombardi and Adnan's podcast, they claimed 3 games a year.
Well, if that's the case, then
it's not
Louis Riddick has nothing to.
Yeah.
This thing I'm reading, the Mannings will broadcast 10 games per season.
That's what I thought.
In 2021. Okay. Starting with the first 3 Monday night games this year.
So I'd say that's a pretty big deal. Those
3
2
weeks
guys
in a
on
row.
television.
Yeah. I think the offseason was huge. The draft was huge, right? Like the Niners trading up to 3 was a big deal in the Bay Area, but it was the biggest NFL story for a month.
Yep.
So you had all of this. Jared Goff got traded for Matthew Stafford. Like, I think we forget looking back. The offseason, just by regular NFL standards, was a wild offseason. Now Aaron's threatening to retire. So you get all of that. And I think this also.
Carson Wentz was traded.
Carson Wentz! I forgot. I think, and I'd love people's feedback on this. You can tell me what you think. I think if we just took every NFL team and said, let's come up with something interesting for every team. Just like one line. Like, give me the one line on each team, which is something we could do. I think there's 4 teams. I think there's 4 teams that your average NFL fan would go, nah, that one doesn't fire me up. I think those 4 teams are the Broncos, the Giants, the Eagles, and the Lions. Where they go, doesn't really fire me up. But you could easily argue, I don't know, golf in Detroit's kind of interesting. And if the Giants and Eagles are, quote-unquote, not interesting, those 2 teams, the NFC East is always interesting. So those are massive markets, blue-chip franchises in the league. I think every other team, though, is easy to find. Like the Jets. What's with the Jets? How about Zach Wilson, who's a massive draft story, and Robert Saleh, new coach? What about the Jags? You mean Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer? How about the Texans? Well, I mean, what's going to happen with Deshaun? Like, we could just rattle through. It's so easy to find a line. Forget about what a fan base thinks about their own team, that just your average fan thinks about a particular team, because that's where a lot of the NFL's strength is, that fans are not just dialed in on their own team. Fans are dialed in on everything. And almost everybody has something to be interested about in the NFL this year.
Well, and I say this all the time, and I was watching the Giants-Dodger game the other night when it was just a debacle for the umpires at the end of the game. Listen, we can nitpick the umpires and the refs all you want, but the biggest reason I nitpick it is because of gambling. And the biggest thing, and we talk about this, it's just a narrative that's out there, like, gambling's going to change revenue in all the sports. Well, is it? Like, I'm not gambling on a baseball game. I'm not gambling on an NBA game. We have been gambling on football before gambling, back when gambling was taboo. Remember, they've been talking about this, like, inching around.
They gambled on baseball back when it was taboo, too. 1919.
True, but I'm talking the masses truly gambled on. Like, it was the one thing that a lot of people, if you did gamble, you gambled on.
Yeah, and mainstream fantasy part of that too, right?
100%, and they really are going to benefit as all this shit has become legal. Like in Arizona, when I went there on DraftKings, it wasn't just daily fantasy; it's legal to gamble there now. So I can get lines on draft, like as you change, in Nevada. For us, it's still a little unique in California, but like, if you just keep an eye on social media, like I would say one state, it feels like every 6 months is getting checked off, right? And who benefits the most? The National Football League, because that's what really people like me and you, but all the major networks, they really push it for this season. Because that's where the DraftKings and these people know. That's where everyone gambles. They know the data's in.
Well, the beauty is you have a built-in such a massive fantasy base, and now I'm playing my fantasy and my gambling's at the same place, right?
Well, it's the easiest thing to have, like, if you're not super locked into the baseball season, I can't even have an opinion on like Cubs Cardinals on Sunday. Like I don't know who to gamble. But if you play fantasy, and even if you've never been a big gambler, I think you would feel like, okay, I kind of like the Bengals this week against the Browns getting 12 points. Like I've been watching Joe Burrow. He's been balling. He's on my team. It's just easier to keep track, back to what you said, interest out. Like the overwhelming majority people that watch football, maybe as they get older, they're not. But I would say most of them have a team, right? And typically it's regional. Now, some people are like, if they grew up in the Bay Area and they just wanted to like another team, maybe they're a Packer fan, whatever.
Yeah, you just grew up, the best quarterback in the league, played for the Cowboys.
Well, wouldn't you say an overwhelming percentage of people, the team that they grew up rooting for was regionally, they grew up semi around that team?
Yeah.
But in football, like you just have a very, very good feel for a lot of teams in the league. So it's much easier to gamble. And part of that goes back to fantasy. You and me were always outliers. Like we never played fantasy. We were not normal. Most people that weren't even that big of football fans were in fantasy leagues.
Daily, baby.
And that's where the NFL's really had and the internet's changed the game, right?
Well, it's the beauty. I've said this forever, the schedule of the league. It's daily fantasy that you don't actually have to follow daily. That's the beauty of the NFL. You can miss a Wednesday and still catch up by Sunday. Right? I didn't put anybody on my team from Thursday. That's okay. I didn't put anybody on my team from Monday. That's okay. It's daily, quote unquote, but you don't have to actually follow it every single day. You don't have to set your lineup every single. I remember the year I tried to play fantasy baseball. Wasn't for me. I remember the year. It was 2004. And I love baseball. Couldn't do it.
No.
If you do it, I think it's an awesome way to stay engaged with the game.
Degenerate, like baseball watch. Like,
and the beauty is, like, I stay engaged with the game anyway. So I don't. But football, you don't. It's the easiest thing. You know when all the games are. You know what channel they're on.
I've received several DMs that have asked me to be part of their fantasy draft. They're like, "Hey, I got a spot." Some people live in the Bay Area. Like, "Hey, we have a party." And I'm like, I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything. Like, I would come over or whatever. But I would not be part of a season long. Like, I'm sorry. I don't want to draft Saquon Barkley with the 4th overall pick or if an auction draft. And then I've played daily fantasy. I could never do that now. Ever. You did it one time. Didn't you pick for Alyssa and you took Le'Veon Bell and he never played?
That one auto-drafted Le'Veon for her. Yeah. The one time I remember several years ago, I filled in for Sean Estes because he was like on a plane, couldn't do his live draft. So I did his draft for him. He's like, "Hey, man, you can be the co-owner of my team." Well, after we did the draft, I'm like, "No, dude, I don't want any. This is all you." Still owes me dinner, but that's another thing.
Did he win?
I doubt it. I don't even remember. I just remember the draft was an in-person draft, and it was exhausting.
Did you guys do snake draft or auction draft?
Snake, I believe. It was snake draft, yeah.
Yeah. I do. I'll give Bill Simmons is a big believer, and I think he's right. If you're doing snake draft, you're like a little kid. I mean, auction drafts are like, you get $100 or $500 and you pay for what you want.
Right. It's free agency, right?
Yeah. So if you really want, who would be a guy, Alvin Kamara, you got to outbid, right? The snake, there's a luck in like however you pick the order.
But see, this is the beauty. It's like the ancillary things that the NFL has create like these arguments that 99% of football fans could participate in.
I know.
It's fantastic. All right, are we going to get Aaron Rodgers retirement this week, John?
What was your first thought when you saw the story? Bullshit, or like, whoa, is there something here?
My first thought was there's something here. Now, I don't think he's going to retire and never play football again, but yeah, my first thought was if you don't want to play and the Packers don't seem to be all that interested in trading you, this is the next move.
Well,
how serious are you?
This move has been done before by David Dunn, his agent that represented Carson Palmer. And when Carson Palmer played this card, because when you do play this card, you can play, and you've always said, if you want to get paid, it's been a theme on the podcast, you have to hold out. Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald did it, Jamal Adams did it.
Right.
Yeah. You can't show up good faith and like really think you're going to get that extra $20 million. You hold out and you're an elite player, you hold their feet to the fire. Well, Rodgers is like, he's at the point, it's not about the money. We saw the report. He's turned down the cash. They would have given him a boatload more money. He didn't want it. So it's not about the money. It's about the principle. Now he wants another team. Same thing with Carson Palmer, if you remember. He had made a shitload of money. He'd been the number 1 overall pick. He did not want to play for the Bengals anymore. Now, those situations do not parallel each other at all. Bengals, joke. I guess they had some talent, but he thought, I remember talking to him, they kept making him promises about free agency. Their owner was too cheap. He's just like, we thought we were always going to sign guys in the free agency. He refused to do it. So I didn't trust anything they were saying. He not only threatened to retire, he kind of did. He walked away. He's like, I'm never playing for you again. He never played another snap for the Bengals. Ever. Again. So, like, if Rodgers does play this card, if you just do parallel it to Carson Palmer and the David Dunn, that move, I don't think you can discount, like, there is a chance he's played his last snap for the Green Bay Packers. Because like Carson, money's no issue. He has unlimited amount of cash, right? And Carson was a little younger, so it's like he had more time on his side. Aaron being 37, 38, Brady's somewhat of an outlier, but you could say at minimum 3 more years. But this year's one of them. Like, I don't think he wants to sit out this year. But if he truly, not only am I not coming to training camp, I'm not playing for you. Now, you hold my rights. You can trade me like the Bengals did. Because remember, I remember hearing Carson talk about this, and Mike Brown was adamant, like, we will never trade Carson Palmer. So that's why he gave up the fuck you. The Green Bay Packers haven't really played that card. I just think they were like, we just want him to come back. Like, we want to win. Like, we'll figure it out next year if we have to get rid of him. Like, we get Jordan Love. We understand the variables here, but we want you to play for our team. And I think, in fairness, like, I would imagine the fans at this point are like, Aaron, just fucking play this year out and then let them get rid of you.
Right.
But you have a chance to win Carson didn't have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Aaron does. Right? That's where this situation, I do think he's lost. Like, played golf yesterday. You just meet casual people that talk football. I don't think he has a lot of people like, God, I feel for Aaron Rodgers.
No.
He's really getting fucked here.
Not a soul. Because no one actually even knows what he's mad about.
No.
And if he's mad about the fact they drafted Jordan Love, no football fan really feels much sympathy for that. Because everybody's dealt with that, right? Joe Montana dealt with it. Tom Brady dealt with it. I mean, they didn't draft Steve, but they signed Steve.
Let's say they had made a trade, and for whatever reason, they were a sweet team, but they had like the number 2 overall pick. So instead of Jordan Love being the 27th overall pick, they had drafted a quarterback number 2 overall. I think it would be way crazy. It's like, Aaron, they drafted this guy at the end of the first round. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
I don't think most people even view Jordan Love as anything right now.
No.
A fan.
No. They don't know what to think of him.
Yeah.
They don't. And I think what's unique about the situation is no one's rooting for either side. Like, most people aren't like, oh, Gutekunst, man, like, that guy's done. He's earned better than this. Nobody cares. That's what's so weird about this. If you're a fan of any other team, you're hoping for this to continue like this because it weakens one of the best teams, particularly if you're a Niner fan or an NFC fan, because it takes an MVP out of the league.
The Minnesota Vikings. The chance to win the division.
Now, I agree. This thing's not about the money. I do agree with that. If they had offered him, you know what, we'll wipe out the contract that you're currently owed. We'll give you the 2 for $90 that Florio says a team that might want Aaron thinks is what it would take to sign him after you acquire him. Would he sign that deal with the Packers?
No.
Because part of this with the Packers, right, is like, yeah, I'm not giving you my rights for 5 years. If the Packers put 2 for $90 in front of him right now, if he'd walk away from that, then he absolutely would just retire and sit out the year or sit out half the year or whatever.
Do you think he would sign if they ripped up his contract? We'll just give you 2 guaranteed years, $90 million, all guaranteed, $45 a year.
I don't think he would sign, and the reason I don't think he would sign is because he knows he could get that contract from anybody else. And at the end of the day, are we going to go 4 weeks into the season? The Packers then have to make a decision.
That's what Palmer did. Remember, he just didn't show up and they ended up trading him.
And the decision is, are we going to keep him in retirement out of spite, or are we going to go get a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers?
To me, the craziest part, though, and I have to go back and look at like the details. I would imagine Carson was making a lot of money the year that he sat out, or like that half year. Aaron's scheduled to make, and I get money's all relative. So if Carson was making 18 back then, like that was a boatload of money. $37 million. Do the math. 17 weeks. 17 times 2 is 34. He's making more than $2 million per game. Every game, Ravel loves doing stuff like that. Like, he got paid so-and-so million per win.
He got $300,000 for those 3 drives in the first half.
He is getting $2 million per game. That's pretty nuts. That's a lot of money, guy.
Yeah.
That's where it's hard for me to be like, is he really going to, like, draw this hard line?
Well, once this report comes out, it's like
He can't show up this week.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's not. There's no way he is.
You wouldn't think. Someone forwarded me a picture. He was on the golf. I think Larry Fitzgerald, like 3 other guys. Like someone was like, he doesn't look too stressed out about this. It looked like he was in the mountains somewhere playing golf.
Here's the other thing that maybe was in Montana. The other element that we haven't talked about with this Rodgers story is, the Packers could open camp and Jordan Love looks good. Like maybe that changes. Is something going to happen that changes the Packers thinking?
Well, he just got the whole offseason with him, right? They have just at least seen him now throw some passes.
I just, maybe their thinking changes. If after 2 weeks they're like, okay, if this guy's really going to act like this, why wait until week 5? If we can just get rid of this distraction, maybe trade him for a player or a pick, or picks players, and move on. They did draft Jordan Love at the end of the day. They did draft him.
How many number ones do you think you would have to get for at least the fans to be like, okay, at least he wasn't going to show up? 3?
For the fans to feel that way, I think it starts at 3.
And even that would be like, well, he is older, right? I think it would be a lot different if he was 30.
Yeah, if the Packers want to play that game and worry about what their fans are going to think, then you almost have to make them not show for a week or 2, right?
I mean, would you trade him 3 and Jerry Jeudy, and then you got Jerry Jeudy, Devontae, Jordan Love, and you just kind of roll out the season, see what happens?
Wait, say that again? 3 ones and Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean,
if you're Denver, that's a lot, right? I mean, you just drafted this guy 14th.
It puts Denver back on my list of it takes them off my list of uninteresting teams, tell you that.
The problem, if you're Rodgers, like, they're going to want something that you're going to want to play with, right?
You're right. Right.
Like it's a Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, does Rodgers tell them don't trade Jerry Jeudy?
Add another one. You could argue just give him 4 ones, get Aaron Rodgers figured out.
That's what the Rams would do.
Yeah, I would give up extra ones before I gave up players if I were them.
Does this change what you think? Like, is he going to put on Packers shorts? Is he going to ride a bike to Packers camp again?
I would say it's 50-50. Because once this report comes out, and I don't think it's a random report, because did you see where they got it from is the gambling people, and they know they started taking the over-unders off the book because they hear not only is he clearly, like you said, he wasn't going to show up, but now it's like, I'm not showing up because I'm retired. But is Denver the only, does his list change? Are they the only team that he's cool with? Wouldn't the other teams be interested? Like if you're the New York Giants, wouldn't you offer 4 ones,
That's where it gets weird, right?
So you hate
is it because you hate the Packers, or is it because you want to be in these 3 specific places? Right.
I think a lot of teams are kind of tied to young quarterbacks. It's his options aren't as plentiful as you'd think.
We talk about this all the time. Like everyone's trying to find their superstar quarterback, and yet there's only a handful of teams that in this moment would make a change. Now, maybe one thing that's working for him is what happened with Brady, right? You look back at the Niners and go, well, I understood it at the time, but signing Tom Brady at the time would have been the move, right?
To me, if I'm General Patton, I just say here's 4 ones. If you're going to trade him, probably doesn't get any better
look, if you're in the
ones.
Super Bowl once in the next 3 years, is that worth it?
Yeah. And I think if you're the Packers, you just hope, well, if he gets hurt 1 year, that pick could go fast to a top 10 pick, right? We just saw it with the Texans. They had Deshaun Watson. The pick ended up, 3rd?
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, he played last year. And he was still 3rd.
You know who'd want to do that trade? Vic Fangio in a heartbeat. Vic Fangio wants to do that trade.
4 ones. You want a 2-2? What else? You want 2-2? We'll call the Rams, see if we can get 2-2 and include him.
Rams might get in on that deal, man. Rams might want a 3-team deal for something.
Well, I think everyone's lucky that that trade already happened because the Rams would be the number 1 destination, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They would offer 17 ones and 4 twos.
God,
Sean McVay hates the draft.
Hates. Hey, Peter, let me ask you, man. All right, John, let's tell the people about our friends at Gabi.com/ham. Gabi. You know what Gabi stands for? Get a better insurance. It's totally free to check. There's no obligation. Put your policy to the test like I did. Put your policy to the test like John did at Gabi.com/ham.
They are the one true comparison platform with real rates. They give you apples-to-apple comparison on your current coverage. You and I did it. We filled out the questionnaire. We had the best rate. But, Guy, on average, they save their users $961. That's net income, right? So, that's a couple $1,000, depending on where you live, Texas, right? So they are saving you real cash. You got to be insured. Car insurance, health insurance, home insurance, you name it. And you fill out the questionnaire. It runs its little query. They will not sell your data. Boom, find out. Use your current information. It just takes a couple minutes, and it's free to use. There is no cost of just checking your rate, right? Absolutely zero. You just fill it out. Couldn't have been any easier.
No. And the beauty? I didn't start getting like all kinds of random spam out of it either, because Gabby does not sell ever, ever, ever your information. So there's no spam. There's no annoying robocalls. Whatever service you have for your insurance, they're going to compare it to Progressive and Nationwide and Travelers. And it's all in one place. And 37 of the other top insurers. So
I see you, USAA.
Yeah, they're hard. USA is hard to beat. I see you, Dan Haberman. Thank you for that, grandfather, putting me into that. But put your policy to the test like both of us did. Get a better insurance with Gabby. Totally free to check. No obligation. Gabby.com/ham. That's Gabby, GABI.com/ham. That's Gabby.com/ham. Podcast is also brought to you by Upstart.com/ham. Upstart.com/ham. It is crippling just to think about sometimes how crippling credit card debt can be. And Upstart, if you're dreading looking at those credit card statements, you are not alone. Debt can be a 500-pound gorilla on your back. But Upstart can help you on your path to financial freedom at Upstart.com/ham.
Yeah, they obviously can work wonders with consolidating credit card debt. They, basically major in personal loans. So credit card debt, whether you see, you're like, I want to redo my bathroom. Well, I don't have the money on me to do that. Well, that's where you go to Upstart.
Lumber.
Yeah, it's actually dropping.
I know.
It's dropping.
I've noticed.
Car rates, you want to get a new car, but you don't want to, spend $30,000, $40,000 on it. Get an Upstart loan. Boom, pay a bad boy off. And unlike other lenders, Upstart considers your income and current employment to find you a smarter rate for your loan. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front. So you know right away, this is how much, this is the rate I would get for X number of dollars. Up to $50,000. $50,000. Stop swimming in debt. Start making your dreams come true. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to Upstart.com/ham. That's Upstart.com/ham. Don't forget to use the URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts determined based on your credit, your income, and certain other information provided on your loan application. Upstart.com/ham.
I got this message here in the YouTube chat, John. This is from Sam Kim. It says, has Ham talked about Deshaun Watson yet? We're about to. And it's not just Deshaun, John. Deshaun, John? It's not just Deshaun. There are quite a few things. There's Rodgers. Deshaun is back with a vengeance as an NFL story. He disappeared from kind of the NFL news cycle. But guess what happened? Again, this week, teams start reporting. Deshaun reported Sunday. Showed up. Not only did he show up, Rap Sheet says he still wants out. Rap Sheet says his trade demands and his stance on playing for the Texans remain unchanged.
Awkward.
Like you did the little $50,000, right, per day he could be fined. Rusty Harden don't work for free.
No.
There's that. There's Chandler Jones wants a trade. Chandler Jones wants a trade. They just like, Chandler, we got you J.J. Watt. We're paying you $15.5 million this year. Chandler's like, that's cool. I want out. Michael Thomas is going to be out for half the year.
There's a lot of shit going on. The best part about reporting is like the drama that you've forgotten about because there's so much stuff happening from free agency to the draft comes back to light. Starting with Deshaun Watson, and the cap guys would know this. What was going to make it complicated for a holdout / before his situation arose was like paying back signing bonuses. Florio wrote by showing up will force the NFL / the Texans to put him on that list. He will never be like, if they end up trading him, he just did the right thing. He missed 1 week of mandatory minicamp. That's all he missed. You can pay the fine, whatever. But he will never have to pay back his contract if they ultimately trade him because it's just like trading another player. Now, I think we all look at it like, God, there's so much other shit going on with them. But this is strictly a logistical accounting purposes for Deshaun and his camp. Yeah. Though, you don't just get to show up and then walk right out. You do have to go to meet. It's got to be pretty weird. What is he going to do? is he on the sideline when Tyrod Taylor
Yeah,
goes
that's
out with
it.
the
Like,
ones?
it's easy to on report day to just show up, but what about when there's practice?
Well, there's going to be practice at minimum. We'll walk through tomorrow. Like he's got to. You're not going to. Is he going to be their number one quarterback?
Is he going to be ignoring Davis Mills the whole time, or is he going to be
It's
not
a bizarre
on the field? Do you get to count yourself as having shown up if you don't practice?
Well, to me, he's going to go to practice.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't just park in your parking spot and be like, I reported. It's like, well, there's a practice today.
Yeah, I would say it's a bizarre, awkward situation that clearly just got way more bizarre and awkward today, right? And does this force the NFL's hand just to put him on that list to end? Like, do you want this being talked about all the time when there is no finality to his situation, which is clearly not coming anytime soon?
Yeah, the one question, right, is like, would any team dare trade for him before there is a conclusion to his legal situation?
Can you, quote unquote, buy low on a situation like this? I don't think you can.
I don't think you can, and I don't think the Texans really have. They've been in it this long. They don't have much incentive to trade him for a 5th-round pick to the Eagles right now.
No.
Right.
And, yeah, even with his baggage, I think maybe.
Sorry, 3rd-round pick to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Howard would be like, oh, well.
Yeah, I would say if the Eagles could get him for a 5th-round pick, that's where it's, again, like, he's untouchable. I don't think anyone would be like, I would have done it too. Take the risk, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles have taken risks before. Now, part of it would be, hey, we believe, even though the legal process has not played itself out, we have an opinion on where this is going to go. Like, you can't do that unless you have an
Michael
opinion.
Vick was released from prison. Like, he served his time.
But here's where I would say, John, even, like, we'll use the Eagles because I think they're one of the – there's not a lot of destinations for them
They
right
have 3 first-round picks next year.
Well, okay, and they have the ammo. But there's not really even a lot of, like, let's say 2 weeks go by somehow. Let's just, in the world where it's all said and done, he's not going to serve. There's not going to be no legal punishment, okay? Now, is the NFL going to suspend him? Let's say it all plays itself out. He's going to get suspended for 2 weeks. He's not going to jail. He's not under probation. He's not found guilty of anything. Okay, he's available. How many teams are interested in Deshaun Watson at that point? Is Miami interested again?
Yeah, I think some teams start sniffing. I mean, the Niners are out. Right?
Yeah, there's less teams now than there was before, and there weren't that many teams before. The Jets were one of the teams before. Well, they're out.
They're out. Yeah.
The Niners were one of the teams. They're out. So
I'd say the Panthers would still sniff around.
Yeah, and who knows? By the time, if you're the Texans, maybe you have an incentive to wait. Maybe in 2 months, the Panthers are more in than they would be right now after they've gotten a chance to see Sam Darnold.
What if they have a week of practices and pads? They're like, God, we think we got something here, right?
Yeah. Now, what if Tua has a good preseason? Now that takes a team. I don't know, but there's really nothing to do. The other thing, we talked about Rodgers. What we did not talk about was, Rodgers and Devontae, basically Haberman and Middlecoff in their final summer of 2016 at terrestrial radio, both posting the Jordan Pippen Last Dance on their IG stories. I mean, these guys.
Do you see Kittle's IG story?
No, what was his?
It was Patrick Ewing looking dumbfounded, staring at Rodman doing something weird, clearly fucking with him, trying to be funny. It was a funny picture.
Zadarius Smith, unhappy, Florio says. Apparently, Zadarius didn't know they could, spread his guaranteed money over 17 weeks instead of paying him in the summer. Florio wrote basically his agent did not inform him properly of the way his contract's going to work because his cap number is going to be massive now in 2022, which means he's getting cut or restructured.
The thing, I mean, I would say he's relatively normal NFL drama, right? We'll talk about Chandler Jones.
Yeah, if he were on another team, it wouldn't be a thing, but that you combine it with Rodgers and Devontae.
Yeah. I think the craziest part is for them, they have three. I mean, they have the best quarterback, the reigning MVP. I think you can argue, but they have the best wide receiver. And Zadarius has been one of the better front seven players in the league the last 2 years since he's been a Packer. He's been awesome. He's been their best defensive player by a mile. I guess Jair Alexander's been good too, but he's been an unreal player. Your 3 best players are pissed off. Like it is. They have themselves a problem on their hand. I mean,
Rodgers kind of contagious.
Yeah, Rodgers started the problem.
But do you know how many touchdown catches Devontae Adams had last year? Does anybody know? Led the league. He had 18.
Devontae Adams had 18 touchdowns last year?
Do you know how many players in the history of the NFL have had more than 18 catches in a single season?
Probably 5.
2.
Randy Moss and
Jerry Rice. When I saw the number 18, and I just Googled what's the NFL? Seems kind of high.
What was it, 24 or something, Randy?
Randy had 23, the Patriots year. Jerry had 22. Adams, Mark Clayton had 18 in 84 when Marino threw like 48. And then Sterling Sharp in 94 in Green Bay had 18.
I was watching the ACC, American Century Classic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant.
And Sterling has played in that, I think, he's big, right? I mean, he's pretty chubby now. And when I say chubby, he's got the hard gut. Like my gut's flabby. He's got hard. And I just God, Shannon always said he was, remember his Shannon Sharp's Hall of Fame speech, I wasn't even the best guy in my own family.
Yeah.
You Google Sterling Sharp from 91 to 96. I mean, it was like Jerry Rice and him. And really, he was young, so he was going to be viewed as the next year. And then clearly had an injury and it was over right as Favre was taken off. Pretty sad. You talk about an elite the Sharp sperm. I mean, holy moly. Jesus. That is I'd tell you this, the middle class and the Habermans, we could combine our two and we wouldn't be like their calf muscle, right? That's incredible, guy. I mean, incredible. Those two guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, Devontae, I understand Devontae, right? He doesn't want to play with, he wants to be a free agent coming off of a year with Aaron.
I do think there was some complications, though, that I saw Florio or one of those guys. The Arizona Cardinals fucked up the wide receiver market because they gave DeAndre Hopkins a short, a 2-year deal that was basically $50 million guaranteed, $25 a year. Well, the going rate for a top wide receiver is that 20 mark. Well, Devontae's no, the highest paid wide receiver is DeAndre making $25 a year, and the Packers refuse to go there.
Yeah, he wants to be the highest paid guy.
In fairness to Devontae Adams, doesn't he have a pretty good argument?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Devontae
the Packers
Adams?
It's not our fault they're responsible, Devontae. Well,
I think I think Devontae's easier. DeAndre, I think can be.
Was he retired or is he back?
We're gonna find out.
The retiree team this year in the league could be really good.
Could be pretty big. Yeah.
Chandler Jones, John, they got a problem there. Chandler's making 15.5 this year. Doesn't want to show up. Wants a trade.
You blame him?
Do I blame him? He's got $15 million to make this year.
No, I'm just saying, I think once you've had a couple years making 15 and then all these guys start making 23, 24, you're like, well, you guys tell me I'm the best pass rusher in the league. My peers always say, God damn, Chandler Jones, he's as good as any. Yeah. And it's you get to the point sometimes in the NFL where, we say, you know what Chandler's move is? You do not show up.
So sign 2-year contracts, not 5-year contracts.
Well, it's hard to do when they're throwing $60, $70 million in front of you.
Yeah. So I don't blame him, but
that's where the NFL gets you.
Michael Thomas, we're going to talk about.
Be like, gotcha.
We're going to talk.
Not guaranteed.
Tuesday's pod is going to be a NFC West preview. There's going to be a lot of NFC West preview stuff. Michael Thomas, the Saints, Michael Thomas, he's on everybody's NFC West schedule this year. So is he on everybody's schedule? Maybe not everybody plays the Saints. That doesn't sound right. But
every team in the league?
No. Just like the NFC West. The Seahawks play the Saints. Maybe that's it. Why did I think everybody? Anyway, the point is Michael Thomas is out 6 to 8 weeks plus another 6 to 8 weeks, they say, with an injury.
The NFC West plays the AFC South.
Right. So everybody plays
NFC South.
Yeah, but Seahawks get the Saints anyway.
As a strength of schedule game.
Yeah.
Are we sure the Bucs aren't going to go 6-0 in that division? Carolina's not going to be that good. The Saints, while they have a great coach and they do have talent, they got issues, and the Falcons could be terrible. So it's this guy. Listen, anytime that you sign a young star player, that you go, this guy, especially when you don't draft him in the first round, a Devontae Adams, a George Kittle. You feel pretty good about it. You're like, we got a star, and we a little found money because we got him cheap early. Michael Thomas was incredible. Since they signed him to that huge contract, it has been a disaster. Last year, they had to suspend him for a game. Remember, it was is he really injured? Sean Payton didn't feel like they liked him. To me, I don't know enough about this story beside that he got surgery 2 weeks ago. Bro, what are we doing? Why didn't he get the surgery? Could he have got it in May or April? This is something where it's remember the Shaq comment? I got hurt on company time. I'm gonna rehab on company time. I don't think you can discount it with this guy with what's gone on. It has not gone smoothly.
No,
if you say Kamara is a good example. You would say Alvin Kamara nailed that third-round pick, and it has been awesome for them. This has kind of been the opposite.
Well, it felt foolproof in some ways. He led the league in catches back-to-back years. He had 149 catches in 2019.
Trying to get paid.
Catches.
That's a lot. That's just not even trying to get paid. That's just kicking ass, taking names.
The year before, he led the league in catches with 125 in 2018.
Was that his rookie year?
No, that was his third year. His rookie year was 16. He came out of the gate 92 catches as a rookie. But, John, this guy had 125 catches on 147 targets. That's 85%. That's ridiculous.
That's
85%.
Yes.
The next year, he had more catches than he had targets the year before when he led the league in catches the year before.
Yeah. He felt like, because he wasn't a guy predicated on running super fast, right? It was like, didn't he have like a better Keenan Allen? Like, this guy is just going to be 120 catches for like a decade.
And like, unlike Keenan, he was just like on this team that knew, like, that was able to maximize him, and he was healthy. He was playing for 3 years.
Great
basically.
Coach, Hall of Fame quarterback. Now it feels that's
no Hall of Fame quarterback.
No, definitely not.
Hall of Fame offseason quarterback. Yeah. Jameis swinging towels at a dog, but I love that Jameis keeps doing the same. Like, Jameis he must have a sense of humor that he loves that everyone just keeps.
But I also think like his workout guy gives him these, and he probably thinks like it works. Right?
Yeah,
that's his workout guy clearly thinks a little outside the box. Like it just Tom's does too, but no one makes fun of Tom when you win. Like if a player, did we talk about the picture of Roethlisberger?
We did a little bit, yes.
Yeah, and he claimed like he didn't put out that he was on the diet. He's like, I didn't talk to that guy. Kind of like, I don't know why you guys thought I was like eating the keto diet. Like, no, well, I don't know.
Just trimmed his beard.
Yeah. Someone DM me a picture like, you called him fat. Like, look at this picture. I'm like, yeah, he's 6'6". So the one picture with the T-shirt, you could tell he's a little rolly. When his jersey's on, he's fucking huge. Like, even when Shaq was older and he was quote unquote chubby, he doesn't look like a 5'10" guy that weighs 250 pounds. Their weight is much more proportional when you have that much body mass index of size, right? Roethlisberger is not the pillar of health.
No. But if you fell on your leg, it's really incredible, actually, that he's had, we'll see how many years he's got left in him, that he maintains this without ever really feeling like his body's beat up the whole time. There's never any 4 years ago he started doing stretching and now he's super flexible. He's just kind of what everyone would do if they could get away with it, which is just get off the couch and play. I mean, I know he works harder than that, but that's kind of the antithesis of Brady. And obviously he's not as good as Brady anymore. But there are times where you watch him and you go, this guy's still pretty good. Now, there are other times you watch him and you go, they got to find somebody else. But
in the Browns, was it the Browns playoff game where they were down like 40-0? It felt like he was pretty bad. But then they came storming back.
He had some bad. He had some bad. All right, what else? Oh, speaking of Brady,
did you see the video?
I did see the video.
Do you think the video is real?
I don't. No, there's not I don't for 1 second think it's real.
Honestly,
for people that didn't see it, Brady's throwing the football into a jugs machine, and the jugs machine is kicking the ball back to him.
My first take before I saw the conspiracy theories on social media that it was fake, it looked real.
It looks real, yeah.
I assume I'm probably 50-50. I definitely think it's possible, but mainly just because it's him. But it's probably humanly impossible.
Yeah,
he is really accurate. I mean, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the history of football.
I think he could do that, but
once.
Yeah, two things. One, I don't think a jugs machine works like that, first of all. I don't think you could, if it's spinning, I don't think you could get the ball to stick in the jugs machine and then kick back at you. If it's spinning. You know what I mean?
Well, it's spinning out, so it wouldn't suck it back in. Right?
The other thing is, I am 100% sure it's fake, first of all. Because Brady's been putting out there. Remember the video where he throws the ball? It's like, oh, that's going far, and then it explodes the moon? Brady clearly has a whole squad, people that are writing jokes for him at the presidential thing. Brady's got there's an infrastructure behind Brady, keeping Brady extra relevant outside of just football. And it's really impressive. I think he's doing a great job with it. Videos like that, they're doing smart stuff with him. But there is no chance that's real. Yeah, but it was cool.
The more I think about it is the spinning out, right, to go forward would not suck the ball in. So unless he has a guy on, like a button plugged into the jugs machine, but you would have seen it. There is a little delay between it shoots out. Maybe what the thing is, they shoot it to them and they're able to kind of rewind in the video editor.
The stuff that you can do with, you can make a Star Wars movie. You can make it look like Brady did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Irishman, they made those guys look younger.
If I hadn't seen Brady do multiple videos over time, then I probably would think, but that might be real. But I've seen enough of these fake Brady videos now, that I don't buy it. But he loves making them. Cool at the UCLA field. He does some sweet stuff. Did
UCLA build a new football offices within the last decade?
It's a good question. The Wasserman football, I think that's the Wasserman practice facility, is pretty new, right?
When's the last time you've been there? A long time?
I haven't been at UCLA in forever, yeah. But I think it just opened a couple of years ago.
Yeah. They always had offices above, and then they had that one field that Mora wouldn't let the guys jump over the fence, which I still think they practice at. But the campus,
that like the senior thing?
Yeah, when they leave practice, senior ditch day or whatever.
Yeah. Because I remember the story. Remember Terry Donahue, the former UCLA coach, died a month or so ago, and the story was the day he retired, he didn't know, even after, it was was he going to jump the fence or not? He didn't know what to do. He still hadn't decided, it was that last minute until he went to the press conference to say he retired. Nobody knew. He didn't even know.
Of all the campuses that I ever went on scouting on the West Coast, which is obviously all the Pac-12 schools, UCLA, even relative to USC, I thought UCLA was the best.
Yeah,
it's just this place is the shit.
I've never been there for football.
But it's connected.
Yes,
it's connected to Pauley. Pauley's right there.
But I haven't been to their football practice facility. I went to the Rose Bowl for a game. I did a basketball game there once. A lot of softball. Yeah,
But to get to Pauley, you might not see it because there's a fence, but you walk right by.
Softball though, I got a good I was there for softball and did a whole.
How beautiful
several
is it?
years. Oh, it's unbelievable. And it's you're like, where am I? Am I driving to Magic Johnson's house?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He probably lives right up the road.
Somebody, let's see. Camelot's Red and Gold says, did you guys discuss men's basketball losing to France? First loss since 2004, I believe. Yeah, they had won a bunch of games in a row. I did watch it. I knew the score of the game before I watched it. When you see JaVale McGee at the free throw line, you go, all due respect, this is not, the dream team.
But they're playing France's best players ever. Fournier
I know.
And Rudy Gobert. You have role players on an NBA championship. You
Absolutely.
have Kevin Durant and Dame Lillard.
I know.
They scored a combined 21. I look at the box score, 21 points.
I know. But
how
the
does
other teams
Kevin
are
Durant
better.
score 10 points?
I don't know.
But are they
These
better?
Guys,
Well,
yeah, the world teams are much better than they used to be. Not necessarily better than Team USA, but
we have Kevin Durant and
I
Devin
understand.
Booker, Dame Lillard. How the fuck are we losing? I'd fire Popovich. You know that Cole Popovich, the dude that wouldn't get vaccinated, that Belichick. I don't know if he fired, but he's not going to coach this year. I was reading Florio's piece. He's related to Greg Popovich.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was at Fresno State when Guy and I were there. He actually quit. I think my first year there, we had an injury. I think he was our best player. He would have been like a first round, but maybe second round guard. He was a big time player.
Yeah, he was.
And he's been coaching for Belichick now for 7 years. And I just saw he's related to Greg Popovich, though he says they've never met. I was like, God, never even crossed my mind.
23andMe. I feel like they spell it differently.
Yeah, I think they spell it the same. But yeah, I honestly I haven't watched 1 second of the Olympics besides some highlights of the.
I watched fencing a little bit on Sunday, which is you realize one thing when you watch fencing that every movie scene where there's sword fighting is way ridiculous. Because in fencing they're constantly falling and poking each other and in a movie it's 15 seconds ding 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 ching 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 diving over backwards. You watch real people try to fight with non-lethal weapons and they're stumbling and running into each other, and it's very different. Very different.
I saw on Twitter, NBC put it out. It was 2-minute clip that Dan Hicks swimming. When do they kick off? Friday night. So Saturday, a bunch of swimming happened, and they're introducing our new analyst, Michael Phelps, and Michael showed up. It was pretty cool. That's he feels like the most famous summer Olympian. Would you say the last decade for sure? In our lifetime, the runners were up there, Flo Jo, Michael Johnson, some of the Usain Bolt. I'd say Michael Phelps is on that list.
Yeah, to me,
fame.
yeah, he's probably the biggest draw in recent Olympic history.
Name recognition, I would say a lot. If you just said Michael Phelps at a dinner party, non-sports fans are going to know it's going to resonate.
Yeah, I think Usain Bolt's name gets thrown around a lot. Like, man, he was, not even in an Olympic context. Like, I said his name the other day. I can't remember why. Just making some, joke about something. Faster than Usain Bolt, or I don't remember.
Well, I saw the greatest race ever run. It was tweeted in my timeline, and it was, I think, it had to be the 4x1. So they each run, a quarter of a lap. And it was basically it was 6 teams or whatever, but it was us versus Jamaica or 1-2. And he's running the final length. And we had Tyson Gay. We had a famous guy too. And they both get the baton at about the same step. Like they are neck and neck. He fucking hits the burners and he beats him by like 3 steps. It's just hauling ass. Dark in a crowded arena, the sprinting is pretty sweet. The lights, the cameras going off, and he's just hauling ass.
To me, this Olympic sprinting is as good. Like I would put that above swimming. So maybe Phelps, the biggest American Olympian, but Usain Bolt's probably right on par.
I'd say Phelps became more famous as he started going for the quantity more than like his first ever race was like, oh, he won the gold. It was like by the time he was like Djokovic going. He can do every event, right? He can do the IM, he can do the free, he can do the backstroke. Like Usain Bolt's only running like the 100 or the 400. He ain't running like the mile, and he's doing like the pole vault, right? Michael Phelps can just add a lot of gold medals just because he can swim every. I guess there's only 4, potential strokes.
So individuals and team, yeah.
He's done them both,
right?
Yeah.
So, anything else today? Brady?
Bryson. The transaction of Bryson DeChambeau getting booted out of the Olympics to add Patrick Reed, just those 2 names. Like you're getting the guy that everyone can't stand to get the cheater who also a lot of people don't like. It's just an incredible. It's not like they get rid of Bryson for Keegan Bradley or just some normal American. They get Patrick Reed, who clearly his nickname's Captain America, and I think that has something to do with the Ryder Cup. But, I would bet Patrick Reed really wanted to do this, but the 3 picks were Morikawa, Justin Thomas, and Bryson. I bet they just told him no, whoever's in charge of that. And I bet he really wanted to be do this.
Yeah.
And, he was probably begging where a lot of guys, like DJ told him no, Koepka doesn't care. Right. I'll give Reed credit. He does want to play in this tournament. Because he played today, guy. He was... middle of the pack, but he was at the PGA tournament this weekend. He's flying. They said he's flying out. He's got to take a test in the morning, then he flies. You got to want to do this.
He's all about, yeah.
Which is cool.
It is cool. Same with Morikawa. I guess Colin come? No, Colin went straight to Tokyo, right? From the British Open?
I would guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So Justin Thomas on Instagram has been tweeting just his outfits and stuff, pretty fired up for it. I think those guys were there probably for the walkout. You see they sang Kevin Durant happy birthday, even though it wasn't his birthday. Do you see that in the tunnel?
No.
The entire Americans were waiting to go out, America. And I think the NBA players started singing happy birthday. The whole place started singing happy birthday. And Kevin Durant, and someone was like, his birthday's not till September. So he was pissed.
They're just
every American in the tunnel. Swimmers.
Just to mess with
happy birthday. I don't think they even knew what was going on.
It just kind of picked up steam.
Yeah, Draymond or one of those guys were fucking with him. His face, though, is classic, Kevin Durant looking at Strauss type face. Stop fucking with me. And they were fucking with him.
That's pretty good.
Opening ceremonies used to be a pretty big deal.
Did I tell you what I did with the silent disco?
Did I
mention that on the podcast?
No.
So the wedding I went to in Montana, the gross wedding. Congratulations, Taylor and Satari. Part of the night was silent disco, and the headphones on a silent disco have 3 channels on them, and their channels are colors, so green, red, blue. And so if you're on the green channel, you're hearing one thing. If you're on the blue channel, you're hearing a different thing. They got 2 different tracks. So if you look at a dance floor, you can see some people's are lit up green, some are lit up blue, and people are doing differing dancing to different music. And it's actually pretty fun.
Did Taylor throw a rave? That's pretty unique.
It was yes, he did throw a rave. Well, guy with Tony.
We're like grandma and grandpa throwing the headphones on.
Everybody had the headphones on.
That is genius.
So, and I've seen it before. Like, you've seen a silent disco before, right?
I've gone to a club, I think, in Vegas with that on.
Okay. So
did I do it with you? Oh no, I did it with a buddy of mine in the NFL in Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
We did it. Yeah.
Okay. So this guy I'm with, Tony Cervoni, says, "Hey man, I dare you to flip yours to red where there's nothing, and just dance around the dance floor singing, and see if people I'll watch if people flip it to red as you go around." So I flipped it on. I go to the middle of the dance floor and I start singing "Friends in Low Places."
What's on red?
Nothing. There's only 2 channels. The headphones have 3 channels, but only 2 of them have music piped into them. Okay. So I go to red. I just start dancing around. Then I go to the middle of the dance floor and start singing "Friends in Low Places" at the top of my lungs. And you see people flipping it, and then some people 2 or 3 people realized what was happening and joined in and just started singing "Friends in Low Places." But somebody showed me a photo of the wedding. You can see a few people with red on, and again, if you have red, it's a sign that you actually are not listening to anything. So there's a good silent disco trick. Josh,
is it like EDM type tunes?
It was everything, but there was quite a bit of EDM. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh says Draymond put on that joke of Kevin Durant.
It was pretty funny, Draymond joke.
I mean, it's a classic joke at a restaurant, right? It's his birthday, you just start singing. Everyone starts singing to that person.
Actually, the silent disco, I don't know if that's what they called it at this place, the silent rave, is right across the street where I went with my buddy from Edgewood in Tahoe, and it was, I'm talking guy, packed. The average age definitely probably mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Drug use was high, but people are into it. I didn't quite understand. Had you heard of it before?
I had, only because I'd seen. I remember walking through Fort Mason in San Francisco a few years ago in the middle of the day, and just people are in the middle of the. What is going on? It's silent. Silent disco. Yeah. All right. On that note, don't forget, everybody, a week from Sunday, August 1, big announcement. We're very proud of it. We're very excited about it. How much do we want to say about this? Just a partnership that we're going to have that we think you guys are going to. It really aligns well with us and our show, and we think it'll align well with the audience, all of you.
We think you will like using, buying, and sharing with your friends.
That's right. This will be an easy one. If you're like, I want to get something to help support the podcast, what should I do? This one you will want to do.
Do it.
All right. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. If you're on YouTube, like the video, podcast, go check out the YouTube, download the podcast, mailbag, bop, 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 bop.
See you guys later this week.